And then we'll go ahead and get started in child's pose as we do in every YTTP class. So gently bring your hips back towards your heels and your forehead towards the floor. And eyes can be open or closed. And for the next hour or so, this is the place that we return to when we need it. And we start our practice in this posture to really allow ourselves to center and focus. Hi, Alexandra. And we also use it as a way to really connect with our breath. Yoga is often described as a union. It is often described as a moving meditation. And I've heard it spoken about quite frequently that meditation, one of the byproducts of meditating frequently is that parts of your life or experience cease to become perhaps so black and white, including the ability to categorize experiences as good or bad. And over a period of time, those experiences just become themselves without those initial labels that we like to lean into and depend on. So then how do you know where you are going if you don't have an explicit label to tack onto it? How can you decipher whether or not something is beneficial or positive if you can't even use the words beneficial or positive? And so what I would like to introduce to you today, this morning, this evening, wherever you are, is that your breath and the quality of it is that natural barometer for what the experience is telling you. So if you haven't already done so, closing the eyes and begin to notice the quality of your breath just as it is right now. Is it deep? Does it touch not just the upper ribs, but does it expand into the low back and into the belly? Maybe it has a texture or a taste, or with the eyes closed, perhaps you imagine a color with it. And then if you've been to our studio before in an actual space, you know that we encourage you to take audible breaths. So perhaps you begin to exhale with a simple HM. Or maybe it's something more softening to the jaw, like an HA, ha. And for the next 58 minutes, this is how we know, right? This is the main way that we communicate from our body sensations through our mind's eye down to that essence of who we're being in the moment to decipher whether we sit lower in a lunge, or we back off, or we come back to this child's pose. So wherever you are with your breath to unify us today, go ahead and expel the air from your body, get empty, 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 empty. And then greet that with a deep, exaggerated inhale. So swell the belly, spread the back, hold it at the top. An audible exhale, HA. And maybe as you exhale and you experiment with a few of these vibrational exhales over the next few moments, you feel those vibrations rippling over the body. And suddenly there's a desire to roll the forehead on the floor from side to side, kneading out those gentle sinus cavities. And perhaps it travels down the spine, into the hips, rolling out the tops of your feet, giving yourself that gentle pressure, sensitizing all the way through. And then if you haven't already done so, begin to walk the arms long out in front of you. Begin to pull space out of both sides of the body Tent up onto all 10 fingertips and crawl the hands forward, almost like you had something very delicate, like little small glasses underneath the palms, right? Getting light on the fingertips, but firm through the finger joints. Pull space out of the armpits as you relax the hips down towards the floor. Take a deep, deep, deep inhale. Feel how that subtle breath deepens your stretch. And exhale, HA. Gently plant the palms firmly on the floor. Inhale, pull yourself up into tabletop position. And then exhale, come into that cat spine. So tuck the tail and chin in towards the belly. Pull the navel in towards the center of the spine. And then inhale, drop the belly down. Tilt your chin and tail up towards the ceiling. Find your cow tilt. Exhale, pull the belly in. And just begin to undulate the spine on your own, finding a fluid movement, gently beginning to ease into inhaling, I move, and exhaling, I move. And it should feel good. Notice that you're pushing into the tops of the feet, into all 10 fingers. Notice if you begin to want to roll out the neck or sway the hips or find some other kind of motion in this tabletop that allows the body to yawn itself open. Wherever you are in your day, notice how the body wants more space, and then find a way of moving and breathing that rewards that desire. And then over the course of the next few moments, gently curl the toes under. Begin to lift your knees up off the floor, send your hips up high, and continue that exploratory movement. So whether it's deeply bending one knee and then the other, whether it's coming down to the forearms for a moment and lifting one leg up at a time, right? Even if it's something as subtle or seemingly as subtle as stretching open the feet, now that they're not confined to socks or shoes or slippers, right? Allow your feet to be just as expressive as your hands. And then over the course of the next few moments, we'll clean it up. Slowly making our way into a very distinct upside down V shape that is our downward facing dog. So spreading your fingers very, very wide, almost like you're pushing into all the knuckles of all 10 digits. And then relax the head so it can knock right from side to side. Rock it yes, shake it out no, maybe even feather the lips. Rotating the armpits in towards one another as though they could wink at one another in front of the heart. Soften behind the knees. All 10 toes face forward, and it's as though we could slide your skull in between the big toes. That's a good distance. Wherever you are with your breath, exhale, exhale, exhale. Take a deep, exaggerated inhale. And exhale, let it go. Keep your weight even between both palms. On your inhale, glide your right leg up and back. Keep the center of your kneecap pointed down towards the floor, and then you decide whether to flex your foot or point the toes. But whatever you're doing, find length and extension all the way from wrist, elbow, shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle. Inhale, lift the leg a little higher if you wish. Exhale, roll open the hip. Bend your knee or come into some other organic movement that really allows the body again to be expressive. And as you begin to move the body in these different ways, notice what happens with the breath. Right? So again, letting that be your barometer and knowing that even breathing in this yoga room, this yoga moment should feel sweet, should feel full. Inhale, lengthen your right leg up and back. Exhale, gently place it back down towards the floor and then follow your breath. Inhale, left leg up and back. Again, you decide whether to flex the toes or to point them, but keep the center of your kneecap pointed down so the hips stay square, equal distance from the mat at first. Inhale, lift the leg a little bit higher. Exhale, bend your knee. Roll open the hip or whatever you need to do. And so, Richard, if finding this inversion is becoming too much on the shoulders, you can step your feet a little bit closer Bend your knees and place the elbows down on the floor. So really what we're going for in down dog is just getting length out of the spine. Yeah, so even if you need to bend your knees a great deal, it's exactly what we're going for. Inhale, lift your left leg up, up, up. Exhale, gently float it back down towards the floor. And then everyone, wherever you are, bend your knees very deeply like you're gonna touch your butt to your heels. Glance forward and take baby steps all the way up to the front of your mat, all the way up until your toes are in line with your hands, fingers. Relax the head heavy. Separate the feet about your hips with distance. So that's curling two of your own fists in between your feet. Right, that's your anatomical hips width. And then bend your knees deeply so your stomach and thighs are meeting. You decide to grab for opposite elbow. Maybe interlock the fingers behind the nape of the neck or the back. But whatever you're doing, right, the idea is to work a little bit less and to let gravity pull a bit more space out of the spine. Maybe you sway from side to side or lightly bounce. Close the eyes. Let the jaw be soft. And then exhale, release the hands down. On an inhale, come into your first half lift. Get a flat back, pull the navel in, and bring your hands to your shins or your thighs at first, because we're really going for length and traction out of the spine. So chin is only slightly away from the chest. We're not looking forward. We're looking a few inches past the front of our mat. And then rock the weight forward into the balls of your feet. So we almost get this 90-degree angle between our legs and the mat, between our legs and our torso. Take one more full breath here. And exhale, release, get heavy into that forward fold. Now that half lift motion is normally accompanied with a one breath, one movement. So we'll take that together. On an inhale, find your half lift, long spine, belly drawn in. Exhale, release. On your inhale, come all the way up to standing, nice and tall. Hands shoulder width, palms face one another. Most likely your first Tadasana of today. And then once you get into this posture or this shape, close the eyes. Right, especially if you're new to the practice, some of these postures can be a bit disorienting, and your determination to get it right can overshadow the commitment that we should have to feeling really good and successful in the moment. So notice where the weight is distributed between your feet. Maybe, yeah, you sway from side to side, exactly, Daniela, or back and forth. Pull up on the quads. Pull the navel in just a fraction, and notice that this is not a compression motion. Instead, it's allowing us to find a little bit more length and lift and buoyancy in the ribs. Soften the shoulders down the spine by rotating the pinkies in towards one another, and then fan the fingers wide. And with the eyes closed, can you trace that length and that wideness of the breath, every inhale from below the navel, all the way up through the fingertips, and every exhale, a weightiness in the feet and a stability in the structure of our bones that allows us to be soft yet supported. If the eyes are closed, go ahead and allow the eyes to flutter up, a gaze in between your palms. On an inhale, draw your hips forward, stretch the arms back for a gentle back bend. On your exhale, dive all the way forward and down. On your inhale, find your halfway lift. Get really, really long. Exhale, release, both hands down. Step both of your feet back and pause in an upper push-up plank position. So plank in this yoga style means that the hips stay up in line with those shoulders. So notice that the butt is kind of dropping and sagging. Pull the navel in. Imagine that you are bringing the tips of your hip bones towards your lowest rib. Really actively engage the abdominal wall. Shift the heels forward over the toes so you begin to stretch open the bottoms of your feet. And then take a deep inhale, press away from the floor. Exhale, lower just halfway, elbows point straight back. Inhale, press your heart forward, untuck so you're resting on the tops of the feet, floating between your palms and your toes for up dog. And on your exhale, curl the toes under, hips high, heels low. And that is our flow sequence. We do it in between a lot of asanas, and it's what allows this practice to be called a vinyasa style, because we literally flow through these postures. We're going to tie it all together now. Deeply bend your knees, glance forward, step, or maybe you want to try hopping in between your hands. Really good. Inhale into a halfway lift, weight forward, armpits forward, tailbone back. Exhale, release, very heavy. Bring your feet together now so your toes and heels touch. Inhale, scoop up there, come all the way to standing tall. Palms press above the head this time. And notice it might feel energetically similar, but there are some differences. As we come to standing really nice and tall, we find a rootedness between the toes, outside edges, and heel of the foot, so we're not collapsing the arches. Squeeze your inner thighs nice and tight. Pull the belly in, and we rotate from the armpits so that the edges of our pinkies are firmly touching. Glance up in between where the palms are touching, and then on your inhale, push your hips forward, stretch the arms back, find a back bend. Exhale, lengthen all the way forward and down. Inhale fills you up into that half lift. Exhale, you plant the hands down, you step, or maybe you can jump your feet back, and you find that flow, upper push-up to lower push-up. Inhale, send your chest forward, untuck the toes so you're on the tops of the feet. Exhale, use your core, find downward facing dog. Now we're gonna move through that series, that salute, 3 times on your own. So you'll exhale, you'll soften the knees, you'll glance forward. You'll step in between your hands and then inhale into a half lift. Exhale to release heavy. You decide to bring your feet together or separate them hips width, and then it's one inhale to come all the way up to standing tall, to stretch the hips forward, to lengthen the arms back, and then exhale to release all the way forward. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, feet back, lower and flow. And then as soon as you find downward facing dog, come to the top of your mat again. Right, this very simple sequence, it allows the body to warm up pretty efficiently, but it also allows the mind to kind of go quiet, right? We come to the top, we find a gentle back bend, a heart opener. And as we release and find a forward fold, right, we find that strength and that energy again to bring the legs back and to transition upper push-up to lower push-up right into that downward facing dog. Being so kind, being so conscious of the way that I'm moving within this practice, it sets a foundation. And not just for the rest of this class, but really what happens when you walk off of your mat. So how fully can I inhale and feel? How completely can I exhale? What happens then? Once you've come through that salute for your 3rd time, we'll all meet in down dog. And if you find that you've gotten there before the rest of your classmates, go ahead and make it the best down dog it can be. So whether it's bringing a softness behind the knees and sending your tailbone high, or maybe it's really rooting down between your thumb and index finger so you find stability and strength in the arms to shift your weight back into the legs. Wherever you are with this breath, let's go ahead and exhale completely. Empty, empty, empty. Take a full, big, and beautiful inhale. Hold it at its peak. And exhale, let it go. On your inhale, lift your right leg up and back. On your exhale, step it all the way in between your palms. Now go ahead and glance down and make sure that as that knee bends, it's directly over this ankle. All 5 toes are facing forward. Now release your back heel down onto the floor. So your back foot is almost at a 45-degree angle, and then use your core, please, to inhale, lift your torso and arms up, warrior 1. So once you get into warrior 1, notice what happens in the back leg. Keep it long, strong, and straight. The stronger that back leg is, the more support you have to actually send this right knee forward. So eventually one day it's directly over that ankle. Soften through that left glute so that we can begin to peel left hip forward and right hip back, eventually 2 hips in one line. Pull the navel in a fraction, and then slide the arms up a little bit higher towards the ceiling so we find that length all through the torso. And then once you have it there, you simply close the eyes and you check in again with the quality of my breath. Every inhale, I find length and lift. Every exhale, I find stability in the legs, a strength and a trusting of my body to hold myself in space and have the experience of feeling fully. Take a smooth inhale to dip your hips a little bit lower. Maybe you stretch the arms back for that back bend. And then exhale, release both hands down. Step your right leg back, upper push-up to lower push-up. Inhale, I stretch my rib cage forward. I lift my chin up. Exhale, I pull the belly in, hips high, heels low. And then into your left side. So you'll inhale the left leg up, up, up. Exhale, you'll deliberately, maybe silently, place the foot in between your palms. And then go ahead and make sure that knee is coming over the ankle. 5 toes are facing straight out in front of you. And then drop your back heel down into the floor. Back foot 45 degrees, please. And then inhale. Root to rise, warrior 1. So even though we might appear like very symmetrical beings, we're not. Right? Everything from the inside, it can be a bit lopsided. So the sensations you experience on one side don't necessarily dictate what's going to happen on the next. So maybe on your left side, you can take a wider step. Perhaps you can deepen in your lunge. Or maybe this is the side that needs a bit more tenderness, right? Listening, and you need to back out of the lunge or shorten the stance. Wherever you are, gently nudging that right hip forward, that left hip back. Keep your back leg nice and strong, and then soften through the shoulders. Fan your fingers very wide as though you could feel the air caressing every digit. Take one more inhale to sit your hips a little bit lower. Maybe stretch the arms up and back. And then exhale, release both hands down. Step your left leg long, make it strong, and then lower through that chaturanga flow. Inhale fully. Exhale completely. And then it's one breath, one movement, warrior 1, right and left side. So as you inhale, find the peak of your inhale to find the peak of your lifted leg. And as you exhale, find the completion of your exhale as you gently step your foot forward. Right, one inhale to lift the arms up, and one exhale to release the hands down. And it may be very simple cerebrally for the mind to understand, but notice if you're beginning to hold your breath, or if it's becoming stifled in some way. Re-invoke those vibrations of a ha. Ignite that ability to part the lips slightly for shh, or maybe it's a hmm. And then once you've completed your left side, it's down dog, and it becomes a bit more familiar, right? Softening behind the knees if you need to, so that the heart can melt back towards your thighs a bit closer. And I can see it already. Some of you are beginning to play around with those eyes closed. That's perfect. Yeah, turn off the outside to ignite something internal, and I would argue more valuable. Wherever you are, exhale completely, empty, empty, empty. Take a deep, exaggerated inhale, and exhale, HA, ha. Deeply bend your knees. Try to stretch open those feet. Glance forward, step or hop to the front of your mat, please. Really nice, Adele. Inhale into a halfway lift, flat back, firm belly. Exhale, collapse, very heavy. Now separate your feet, 2 of your own fist width, in between the arches. That's what we're going for. And then on your inhale, sit your hips down, bring the arms up for chair pose. So chair pose, if you practice with us for a while, is a little bit like stairs. In my opinion, it never becomes easy, even though it's quite simple. So glance over your knees. You might see your toes fanning out just beyond them. Make sure they're still pointing forward. So the tendency is for the knees to collapse in and the toes to flare out. Make sure everything is nice and parallel, right? This gets us into our quads. Sit the hips down and back, and then again, imagine the top points of our hips are coming closer to our lowest ribs. Rotate the armpits in towards one another, so pinkies might even start facing one another. Fan your fingers wide and open the throat, right? And then close your eyes. And again, it's that thing of that we talked about in child's pose. We're not labeling it good, bad, challenging, or easy. What we're doing is we're listening for our breath and we're feeling for the quality and depth of it. How fully can I inhale and lengthen? How completely can I exhale and soften? Take one more deep, exaggerated inhale, sit low, biceps come by the ears. Exhale, hinge forward, hang heavy, nod the head, yes. Shake it out, no. Flutter the lips, learn to let things go. Not holding on to anything in this practice. Finding a stillness. On your inhale, sit your hips down, arms up, second set. So we repeat asanas very frequently in this class. That way we allow our bodies to identify where the posture lands at first, right? How to make the shape, all the technicalities. And then the second set is really an opportunity to let go of the visual, to turn on the internal. And with the eyes closed, we can really begin to notice, right? Where does the mind go? As we stretch the tailbone down and back, and we equally lengthen the arms forward and up, where is that place of buoyancy in the lungs? Maybe it lives and exists in the pounding of the heart. Inhale, sit a little bit lower, stretch the arms long. Exhale, forward fold. Shake it out and let it go. Finding your stillness, find the quiet. One more time. Inhale, hips down, arms up. Third, final chair. So I'll go ahead and tell you it's the final because I don't want you to hold back, right? Especially if you practice with us often, you kind of know the patterns of where we go. And there's a tendency to back off a little bit and kind of save yourself for the last hoo-ha, right? You work when you can work, you take breaks when you need to, but don't cheat yourself out of the power of this practice. You've got to be in it. I can't give it to you. Your partner can't give it to you. You got to use your breath to find the depth, to find the thing that works. One more inhale, sit a little bit lower, stretch those arms high. Exhale, come right up to standing. Ooh, nice and tall. Fan your fingers. Yeah, some of you, your mind didn't like that. They were like, wait a second, this is where we get forward fold. Close the eyes. Allow the mind to go wherever it wants. But then notice you can come right back to your breath. The heart rate undoubtedly is kicked up. Where does your attention need to go? Every inhale, I get long and strong. Every exhale, I soften through the soles of my feet. And then with the eyes closed, because we don't need to see for this next moment, identify which hand is right, which hand is left, and then use your index finger and thumb to grab hold of that left wrist. Inhale, lengthen that left arm up. Exhale, push the hips to the left and draw the arms to the right, a gentle side bend. And it's gentle. It's not about how deep you can make this stretch along left side body. Instead, sense for the fanning open of left ribs. Maybe even if that flesh across the hip bone begins to soften and release. Take one more full inhale here. Exhale, come right back to center. And then switch it out, switch out the grip. Left thumb and index finger around your right wrist. Inhale, you get long through the armpits. Exhale, shift your hips over to the right. Stretch the arms over to the left. You find that sweet spot, and that's where the breath goes. Allow your mind's eye and attention to focus on the places that are rewarding, to focus on the depth of your breath. One more full inhale, glides right side open. Exhale, come right back to center. And then drop the hands down to either side of you. Fan your fingers wide and place them just above your hip bones, right? Almost above that sacrum, right? Supporting your low back wherever you are. Squeeze the elbows together and then inhale, stretch your chin up. Exhale, drop the head back for a gentle back bend. So if you practice yoga often, you know that we do camel towards the end of class. This is like a standing camel. Focus on squeezing your elbows together, puffing your chest and breastbone up towards the ceiling, and releasing the throat. Releasing that space in between your rib cage that protects the heart. Take one more beautiful breath in here, and exhale, release the hands down. Tuck the chin in towards your chest and gently roll down one vertebra at a time, softening behind the knees as you go so that you really begin to notice when gravity takes over and you have the opportunity to surrender to it. So beautiful. With the knees bent and the torso laying on your thighs, wrap your arms behind your legs. Maybe you grab for elbows. Relax the head or the neck so the head is very heavy. Shift your weight forward into the balls of the feet, and then keeping the hands gripping on the elbows, or maybe it's behind the calves. Allow your torso and legs to stay glued and begin to shift your hips up high towards the sky. Right? It doesn't matter how straight the legs are, we're really trying to solidify connection between upper body and lower body. Keep lifting those hips up. You've got it for 3. Looks really good, Melanie. For 2, release your hands. Inhale into a halfway lift. Get a flat back and a firm core. Exhale, release both hands down. Step or jump your feet back and come through that flow. Inhale, I find up dog. I stretch my chest forward. I squeeze my shoulders behind the back. Exhale, I find downward facing dog. And perhaps it feels different from the first time you were here. Already in this short amount of time, warmth and heat has changed what the body is capable of. Wherever you are, exhale completely. Take a deep, 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 exaggerate your inhale. An audible exhale, let it go. On your inhale, glide your right leg up and back. On your exhale, silently step your foot forward in between your palms. Inhale, rise up into warrior 1. And then exhale, this time peel open, get your right arm forward and your left arm back for warrior 2. Now, warrior 2, we find a bit of a wider stance depending on how wide our hip bones release. So keeping the front knee forward, if you glance over the front foot, you can see a sliver of that big toe. And if you glance behind you, you're pushing all the way into the outside edge of your left baby toe. Keep pulling up on that knee. Push your hips slightly forward to open up the pelvis, and then lean the upper body back so your shoulders and hips are stacked. If it helps to glance behind you over that left shoulder, just be sure it's not dropping down or swaying from side to side. Fan the fingers wide. Reach in opposite directions like you're stretching your wrists, elbows, and armpits apart. And then close the eyes. In warrior 2, it's this opportunity to take up space while really cultivating that internal center body heat, right? That place that everything radiates from, including the breath, right? So we have to keep the movement full, even in these seemingly still positions. Every inhale, I lengthen from finger to fingertip. Every exhale, I soften and I sink into that newfound space. If the eyes are closed, flutter the gaze past your right shoulder. Flip your right palm skyward and then inhale, lean the torso forward, stay low in your lunge as you sweep the right arm up, 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 and reach it back for reverse warrior. Now your left hand can come above or below your back knee. If you're wrapping it behind your torso, and pressing the hand into that right thigh, that front thigh, really push the thigh away as you stretch the bottom rib of the right rib cage up towards the ceiling. So again, fanning open right side body, always going for space. Take one more deep inhale to stretch your fingertips up and back, push your knee forward. And then exhale, cartwheel both hands down. Step your right leg firmly back. Slowly lower and flow. Go slow. Move intentionally. So we never just fling ourselves up into these postures, and we never allow ourselves to just drop out of them. The postures are literally a byproduct of how we move in and out. On your inhale, left leg will glide up, up, up. On your exhale, gently place the foot forward. Back heel down. Inhale, glide both arms up. Warrior one. Exhale, rotate left arm forward, right arm back. Warrior two. And again, just doing these minor checks, it's not about making warrior two look perfect. It's just about getting yourself in a very stable, firm position to feel your way through the rest of the practice. Glance over the front knee. Make sure it isn't dropping in or out. It's directly over the center of the foot. Glance behind you so that the right arm isn't dropping down or rotating from side to side. There's one strong line of energy from fingertip to fingertip. And then close your eyes. And can you invite some of those vibrational qualities back into the breath so that, again, we're not judging or labeling the moment. We can more fully embody and experience it. So good, Charlie. Now glance over your left shoulder. Flip your palm skyward. Inhale, easily glide forward. Exhale, scoop up the air. Sweep the left arm up, 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 and back. Keep pushing that front knee forward. Spreading open left rib cage. And again, that back hand, there's not a ton of pressure there. It's really for support. Really nice to get a good grip on that thigh and push the thigh, almost like you're lengthening it out of that hip socket. Rotate the armpit down towards your face, right? So we're not scrunching up the shoulders, we're remaining broad. Take one more deep inhale, draw the knee forward, fingertips back. Exhale, gently place both hands down, strong straight arms, lengthen left leg behind you, and flow. Yeah. And then one breath, one movement, warrior one, warrior two, reverse warrior. I invite you, if you can, or rather, if you're willing, to flow through these postures with the eyes closed. And even if it means losing your balance for a moment, or slowing down briefly, it really allow the sensation of your body to inform how low you sit in a lunge or how far back you reach. Notice if with the eyes closed, suddenly the weight of the head isn't being jerked around as much as it is an extension of your spine, because that is what it is. No part of your body, not your feet, not your hands, not your head, is a casual participant in this practice. It serves a purpose because it's all one. So allow this flow to be full. Allow this flow to be as it should and fluid. Once you've come through that left side, we'll all meet in down dog. Yeah, we're choosing to let it be a powerful moment of child's pose. Soften the face. Reconnect with your breath. Wherever you are, exhale completely. Deep, deep, full, luscious inhale. Fill it up. Every crevice, every hollow. Hold it. Audible exhale, HA. And then soften down onto all fours. Find that tabletop position, and you're welcome to move it around for a moment. Notice if maybe there's more flexibility between every vertebra as we inhale and drop the belly down, and as we exhale and contract the belly in. Right, do that a few times on your own. Allow yourself to enjoy any of those minute or perhaps very large changes. And then find a stillness on your mat. And everyone go ahead and let your belly drop down, right? This is an unsupported spine. It might feel really nice on your joints, but for the next few moments, you're gonna wanna pull the navel in just a fraction so you're not dropping the spine down and you're not pulling it in. Press down to the tops of your feet, and then on an inhale, draw your right arm forward and your left leg back. A little bit of spinal balancing. Spread your fingers wide so the thumb is towards the ceiling and the pinky is towards the floor. Point your toes so you're getting a little bit longer, and keep the eye of your kneecap pointed down towards the floor. Every inhale, we lengthen our limbs a little bit longer. Every exhale, we soften where we can so suddenly we can lift them a bit higher. Notice what happens with the mind. Can you close your eyes and can you invite this point, another point of experience, with a fullness and a vitality of breath that supports really feeling the entire experience or moment? Inhale, lift the arm, lift the leg. Exhale, bring your right arm to the right and your left leg to the left. And I think, Kevin, weren't you in class with me this morning with Alina? Yeah, and we did this. So this is your second time doing this, perhaps? Get the arm a little bit higher. Get the leg a little bit higher. If you're confused, you can look at me. See, I would never ask the impossible of you. I will do it with you. Inhale, draw the arm forward and the leg back. Lift the limbs. Exhale, bend your knee and grab just below the toes and kick your foot up. Kick your foot up, right? You're gonna end up kicking the foot back, that's fine. But if you kick the heel up and you look up, eventually you're gonna see the toes above your head. And listen, the only reason you should ever be able to do that is if it feels good. So find the point of this posture that works for you. Keep pushing down into your thumb. Keep kicking your heel away from your butt. Find it. If you fell out, you come back. You've got it for 3. You got it, Danielle. For 2, keep that knee where it is. Extend. Right leg back or left leg back. Right arm forward. Inhale, lift your arm, lift your leg. Exhale, release. Woo. That can be so challenging, I know. Find your tabletop and then inhale, lift your left arm high to the sky. Exhale, thread it underneath your torso so you come to rest on your left cheek. Your hips stay over those knees, high to the sky, and you just soften, right? Especially if we are working on strength and stability in our wrists. Finding this moment to roll it out could feel super good. Maybe you interlace all 10 fingers, clench them into a fist, and then stretch the arms straight. Finding a gentle twist in the torso and allowing the belly to spill forward. If you want, you can bring your right arm up towards the ceiling and back behind you, grabbing for your inner thigh for a mini bind. There are a lot of small things, adjustments you can do in this position. Make adjustments that feel sweet. Make adjustments that accompany the full swelling of an inhale and the complete expulsion of an exhale. One more time, inhale sweet and full. And exhale, slowly return back to that tabletop position. Close the eyes and notice if the mind is beginning to chatter, because you know we have to even yourself out. No expectations, let it feel good. On your inhale, bring your right leg back and your left arm forward. Point your toes, spread the fingers, push into your bottom thumb and the top of your back foot, and then notice what happens. Again, sensing for that life force, that prana, that energy that pulses in the blood, that's infused by the oxygen in every breath, and feel for it between your fingers and your toes. Inhale, lift your arm, lift your leg, hold it right there. And don't cheat, right? Don't save yourself for the moment that you think is going to get hard. Stay in it. Stay strong. Inhale, lift your arm and leg one more time. Exhale, gently airplane the left arm out to the left. Bring your right leg out to the right and go for it. Yeah, so you can imagine there's really this nice kind of privacy that's happening with Zoom class right now. But if we were in a class of, say, like 30, 60, 100 people, I would probably be telling you to lift your leg above your neighbor's hip. So imagine that. Use that imagination to lift your leg a little higher, to stay with it. Use a ha or a stay with it. Inhale, lift your arm, lift your leg. Exhale, bring it right back out in front of you and behind you. Inhale, float the arm up a little bit more, Melanie. Exhale, grab just below the toes and kick up. And depending on where you grab, whether it's the outside of the foot or the inside, right, you're gonna get a different stretch. So play around with it. Again, what you did on one side won't necessarily apply to this one. Keep kicking your heel away, up, up, up from your butt. Look forward or maybe even up towards the ceiling and breathe. Kick up, push down through your bottom palm. Get that arm straight one more time. Kick, kick, kick. Keep that knee where it is. Extend, leg back, arm forward. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release, tabletop. You did it. You did it. It is worth it. Inhale, float the right arm high to the sky. Exhale, sweep it underneath. Come to resting on your right cheekbone, your right shoulder, and then you can decide whether it's interlocking all 10 fingers and stretching a fist away. Maybe it's just simply rolling out that right wrist, or stretching the left arm up and behind your back, grabbing your inner thigh for a gentle bind. Henry David Thoreau talked about how everything we do as a species is to maintain and cultivate a center of internal heat, which can sound quite crude and primitive, but I don't know that I would dismiss it so quickly. I think that in times of immense potential stress or anxiety, what often happens is we're put in that flight mode, and all of the blood goes to our extremities. You see it in yoga. We focus on the extremities, the arms and the legs. But all of that is meant to come back to the center. So we want the blood to come back to our center, to our intestines, right? To our lungs, to the things that make us healthy and whole. Right? So building up some of that core strength and then letting it release like we're doing now, it's essential to creating that vitality, right? That symbiotic life force. Take one more breath here. And exhale, gently come back to tabletop. Really good. Tuck your toes. And then inhale, hips high, heels low, downward facing dog. Once you have it here, inhale, lift your right leg up, bend your knee, roll open the hip, find a stretch along the hip, maybe the side body, and exhale, come into your half pigeon. Get your knee wider than your hip, wider than your shoulder. Drop down to your back knee, untuck the back toes, and make sure that that you're rolling that foot so that it's in the center and not rolling in towards the arch or out towards the pinkies. Get your hips nice and square and level. And then inhale, lengthen your torso long. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. So you lengthen the torso over that shin. And then allow the neck muscles to be soft so the weight of the head can surrender to gravity. I think, Yvonne, you said the other night in your class, it was so beautiful. You said something like, inhale through that third eye point between your brows, and exhale through the follicles of your hair. And I love that visual because your breath is something that really permeates your being. And those vibrations that you either are deliberately or unconsciously making, they are traces of what your spirit is experiencing. So in this moment, when the mind might be very full of chatter, notice if you can begin expelling your breath in a way that's expressive. So it's not a Lamaze breath that suppresses and manages. Rather, it's the breath you use when you laugh, or when you cry, or when you fight, or you make love. It's a way of expelling that fully manifests what you're feeling. And the beauty of really being able to do this is that then your body doesn't have to hide what it's feeling. And if it's not having to hide or manage, there's a great potential and possibility for it to open. So all together, wherever you are, exhale, exhale, exhale. Take a deep, sweet inhale. Audible exhale. Slowly begin to press yourself up and away from the floor. Nourish every one of those sensations of the body as you lengthen your torso up. And as you exhale and you plant the palms down, you can either step your foot back and go through a flow. You can hold in a plank or find a down dog. And then slowly you'll inhale that left leg up. You'll roll up in the hip, you'll bend the knee, and you'll come into half pigeon on your left side. So again, your knee is wider than your torso, than your hip or your shoulder. If you want to glance behind you to be sure that right leg is extended and you're not rolling from one side to the other on the foot, go ahead. But then inhale and find length and lift. And exhale, maintain the length as you lower. How good can my yoga practice feel? You know, at Yoga to the People, we end classes with a quote, and sometimes it's a piece of poetry that ends up getting said or shared. Poetry is that thing, that attempt of language to describe what we cannot easily do so. It's that form of art that just so happens to use words. But words can be limiting. And so it's not uncommon to choose to express ourselves through the music we make or listen to, or the dances we jive, or the paint that we spread with a brush or our fingers, or whatever it is. I've found that this yoga practice can be just as expressive as any art form. And if you've never considered yourself an artist, let this be the landscape that you allow yourself to act as though you are one. And move through your body as though it were the most grandiose and interesting tapestry. Wherever you are, exhale, exhale, get it out so there's nothing left. Take a deep, deep, full inhale. And exhale, HA. Gently press yourself away. Take your time as you send your left leg back. And move through one last flow of class. And then once you find downward facing dog, allow yourself a few moments to say goodbye to it. Whether that's shimmying out the hips or shimmying out the shoulders, or maybe it's discovering the strongest upside down V shape you've ever made. Close the eyes, acknowledge that that's your efforts that make that possible. And then taking a deep, 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 full, rich inhale, audible exhale, and then soften down to your knees. Come to standing on your knees for one set of camels. So similar to that standing back bend we did earlier with the support of our hands, now you're just going to stand on top of your knees, untuck the toes so you're lengthening through the ankles, and then spread your fingers very wide, place them on the low back again for support. Squeeze the elbows close behind you, and then inhale, lift your chin and chest up. Exhale, push your hips forward, drop the head back. And you can either grab for the soles of your feet if that feels appropriate, or perhaps you focus on really letting the head fall back, the belly be soft and the neck be soft, and the back bend actually comes from the support of the muscles all up and down your spine. Inhale, puff up the chest a little higher. Exhale, return the hands to the low back if they're not already there. Tuck your chin in towards your chest and slowly come all the way up. And then gently sit your hips back down on towards the floor. Bend both knees and bring your hips about halfway up onto your mat. Soles of the feet flat. Spread your fingers wide and extend the arms straight out in front of you. And then this is the only other thing we're doing together, is slowly contracting the abdominal wall, tucking the chin and tail in as we roll all the way down onto the mat. Go slow. Go slow. Don't miss a moment. And then once you get there, close the eyes. Spread the fingers wide, arms by your sides with the palms facing up for your Savasana. You can separate the limbs as wide as you want or your space will allow. Tuck your chin into the chest and allow the head to roll from side to side until it finds a final resting point. Thank you for coming to class this evening. Thank you for sharing yourself with others in this way and taking time to do exactly what you need to do. Yoga to the People has been and will always be kept alive by your presence. Whether that's in the form of donations, you can go to our website, there's a donate button right there, or spreading the word on social media, or inviting friends and family to practice with you during this time. It is powerful. Thank you for supporting this community. It is your community. We'll end class with a quote and a collective breath. Our quote today comes from Rumi, who said, "Be crumbled so wildflowers will come up where you are. You have been stony for too many years. Try something different. Surrender. Surrender. One last collective breath. This time, if you would please hiss all of your air out. And then greet that with the deepest, fullest breath you can muster from below your belly, through the ribs. Hold it at the heart. Audible exhale, HA. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone. If you like to stay in Shavasana, you certainly can. I'll be around for a little bit longer to answer any questions. Thank you.